So in this video, I want you to learn how to navigate the system without the system. Does that make sense? I want you to be able to navigate this space, this special needs space, this autism space without being so dependent on the system. Okay? That might sound weird if you have a special needs child, if you have a child with autism, and you're thinking, what do you mean, Teray? What do you mean navigate this space without the system? We need the system. Not as much as you think you do, okay? So this topic came up. Let me back up. So I think I told you before that I'm in these autism groups. I wasn't in these autism groups before. But now that I'm in this space and I'm teaching you all the things, I need to see what you guys are talking about. Right? And now that I see what people are talking about, I'm like, I had no idea that that some of your concerns are what they are. You know what I mean? And what I'm learning is that I'm learning a lot. But so many families are so incredibly dependent on the system. All right, so this video, I'm going to take my time in this video. Okay, it's going to be a little longer than the other ones because I feel like we need to discuss this. You don't need the system, especially at the time I'm doing this video. It's what's today? February 18th, 2025. We don't even know how much the system is going to be doing in the coming months. So you need to learn how to operate without the system. Let's just put that out there. All right, let's start with that. Okay? So let this video be the beginning of learning your systemless independence. How about that? Like, you know what I'm saying? But let me just say that even 20 years ago, Hassan's 25, he was diagnosed at age 5. 20 years ago, I knew that I needed the system, but to a certain extent, okay? And so that's what I want you to understand. So let's get into it. The first thing I want you to know and understand is that I want you to understand that what your child needs. Understand that what your child needs without, I want you to understand what your child needs without waiting for them to tell you what your child needs. Know what your child needs without waiting for them. What do I mean by that? I wrote it wrong. That's why I was trying to figure out, like, you know how you're writing real fast and you're like, what was I trying to say? That's what I was doing. Understand what your child needs without waiting for them to tell you what your child needs. Okay? So let me just say, a lot of times when people get that diagnosis for autism or for whatever special needs, as a parent, you're overwhelmed, right? And your first thought is, what do I do now? What do I do now? It's hard enough figuring out parenting, especially if it's your first kid. You're like, I've never been a parent before. Like, I've seen it done. Like, I've been parented before, right? But whenever you have a special needs, it's foreign territory, right? So the first thing you want to do is you want to reach out to other parents who have children with special needs, children with autism. You want to learn all the things because you still want to parent this beautiful child correctly, right? So you want to learn as much as you can so that you can do the right things for your child. You love this baby, you want to do the right things. But you're still the parent, right? Don't wait for them to tell you what your child needs. So let me tell you a story. I remember, if you go to my website, TerayWard.com, I tell you how I diagnosed my son myself, right? I was a daycare director at the time, and my daycare was thriving because in my mind, as a daycare director, my job is to prepare children for kindergarten. Okay. Hassan was in my 5-year-old room. So these 5-year-olds, my 4 and 5-year-olds were combined. You know what I mean? The 4-year-olds were about to turn 5. The 5-year-olds were just getting ready for the fall to come so they could go to kindergarten, right? So they were combined. And these kids were learning the days of the week in Spanish, okay? Okay, these kids could add and subtract. They were reading. Okay, they could do all the things, right? And my son was sitting in the corner, staring at the lights, shaking a hanger, and humming, right? So I was like, this ain't right, right? So I went and had him evaluated. He had an autism diagnosis. Okay. So then I took him to the school district because now he's 5 and it's time to enroll him in kindergarten. Okay. But he has this diagnosis. Okay. So what you have to do then is when you enroll him in the school district, you have to, the school district has to do their own evaluation, even though you have an official diagnosis from, from your medical team or from the developmental disabilities, medical team, whatever. The district did their evaluation, right? And they were like, I mean, he can go into a regular class. He's really high. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, he's so smart. Oh, I think he'll be fine. I know what my kid needs. Now, let me be clear. I had a background in child development. That was my major in school, in human behavior. This is also my second son. So, my other son at the time, if Hassan was 5, that means my other son was about to turn 8. Okay. And I was, I had a whole daycare full of kids. I know where he should be as far as his academics and intelligence, you know what I mean? Where he should be. I know what he needs. I'm not going to let you tell me. I already know what they teach in kindergarten. I have another son who went through kindergarten. In fact, my other son finished kindergarten when he was 4. He started kindergarten early. Hassan can't do kindergarten. I already know this. I did not let them tell me what he needed. Come to find out, the school district at the time did not have an autism program in their district. So they were trying to mainstream him because in order for them to accommodate his diagnosis, they would have had to pay to send him to a private school. And that's exactly what I made them do. That's why you want to know what your child needs so that you can advocate for your child correctly. If I had listened to what they said, then Hassan wouldn't have gotten what he needed. That's why you need to know how to advocate correctly. I did a video on that already. Go back and watch that video. That's how you advocate correctly, by knowing what your child needs, so that then you know how to. I had to write a whole letter to the district coordinator and all this other stuff. And no, you're not going to mainstream my kid because you don't have adequate, support so that he can be in the least restrictive environment. Oh yeah, I know that term. I have a background in child development. You can tell these other parents what you think, whatever you want. Yeah, I'm advocating for my son so he can get what he needs. Know what your child needs. Okay. The next thing I want you to do, understand that no one knows all the answers. I see so many people, so many parents in the groups that I'm in, and even in interacting with other parents. I told you that I interact with a number of parents because my son is, he has friends and, in the parent groups that I'm in person, who are like, this is what's going on with my child. This is what's going on with my son. This is the problem. This needs to be corrected. I got to talk to somebody to correct it. Nobody knows all the answers. What works for one child does not work for other kids, does not work for all kids, not even medicine. If that were the case, they would just take such and such medicine and give it to everybody and it would work for it. Nobody has all the answers. All the kids are different. That's why there's a spectrum. All the kids are different. Everybody's an individual. Everybody has their own whatever. Nobody has all the answers. Wrap your head around this. Parents with autism kids. There's no autism specialist. Have you noticed that? We got a hip specialist. We got a migraine specialist. We got a foot specialist. We got an eye specialist. We got the teeth specialist. We got a skin specialist. There's not an autism specialist. Nobody specializes in autism. Whenever we want help with our child with autism, we get a therapist. And then even with that, they may or may not have experience working with, people with autism or adults with autism or children with autism, and we don't know. Or maybe they do, but, it depends, and every case is a special case, and I don't. Or if you've worked with a therapist or a psychiatrist who has experience working with your child or working with children with autism, they're like, this medicine has been known to help with anxiety, but we'll start you on a low dose and see how it works. I've talked to parents who have had their kids on anxiety medicine, and it did the opposite. Let me tell you a story. When Hassan was 5, they thought he might have meningitis. Okay. And so they needed to give him a spinal tap. But because he has hyperactivity, which is common with children with autism, they needed him to be still because it's a spinal tap. So they gave him an IV so that they could put a medicine in his IV to relax him. That medicine made him hyperactive. He was like this, and the nurses were like, what do we do? And in typical, Western medicine fashion, they're like, give him more. I'm like, what? If it made him hyper, wouldn't more make him even more hyper? I'm not a doctor, but if a little bit made him a little bit hyper, wouldn't more make him more hyper? It did. Except at that point, he was loopy in his eyes, and the doctor was outside of the doctor's office, and she's having a conversation with other doctors. I've never seen anything like this. It's making him hyperactive. Blah, 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 blah. Trial and error. They don't know. They don't know. Understand that no one has all the answers. No one. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because as parents, a lot of times parents will feel lost. I'm not getting any help. Someone needs to tell me what to do. Somebody. But I want you to understand what your child's needs are and stop waiting for someone else to tell you. And I want you also to understand that no one knows all the answers. And thirdly, I want you to understand that it's up to you. Now for some parents, what I'm saying might sound really, really scary. Like, but I don't know. No, neither does anybody else. But you got to have the confidence to be able to, this is your baby. Let me just give you a secret. I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to tell you a secret. You might not like it, but I'm going to tell you a secret. Nobody knows your baby like you. That's your baby. That baby lives in your house. You know your child's patterns. You know their likes and their dislikes. You know their triggers. That doctor doesn't know their triggers. That therapist doesn't know. That therapist can't even recommend anything until they ask you 100 questions about your child. I want you to have more confidence about making decisions for your child. Understand that it's up to you. Everything is up to you. You're the mom. You're the caregiver. You're the decision maker. Nobody gets to make decisions about your child but you. No one has that permission. Nobody except you. Let me tell you another story. Hassan was in elementary school. I think he was in like 3rd grade. And remember when I told you that the district had to pay for him to go to a private school because they didn't have reasonable accommodations at their school? Well, while he was in school, a couple years in, they created a program for children with autism at the regular school district. So what they did is they took a team over to the private school that they were paying tuition for from so many kids from the district. And on IEP day, they plopped into everybody's IEP meetings so that they could do a commercial to move those kids back over because it was cheaper, right? So I show up to my son's IEP meeting, and the district supervisor is there, and the new principal for the school, that I guess that the new school or whatever for the school district is in the IEP meeting. And I come in and I'm looking around, and I'm like, who are you? So they're like, oh, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm this and I'm that, and they say who they are. And I'm like, okay, so in case you don't know how an IEP meeting goes, there's a form with the people who should be at the meeting. The parent, the teacher, the occupational therapist, the speech therapist, the school counselor, whoever's on the meeting. We decide in advance who's going to be at the meeting. If anybody extra is going to be at the meeting, the parent gets to decide who. And it's on the sheet. Their names weren't on the sheet, and I didn't give permission. You need to know that. The reason why I know that is because I read everything. And HIPAA. As a parent, make sure you read everything. Know your rights, know your child's rights. So I look at the paper and I'm like, your names aren't on this. Now let me just tell you this. The school district has the right to bust into the meeting, the school can't do anything about it because they are paying tuition. So the school can't kick them out. Only one person can kick that out of the meeting. Guess who? The parent can. If the parent doesn't know that, the parent won't say anything. But because I read everything, I said, your name's not on here. They're like, oh, well, yeah, but we just figured I said, I looked at them, I looked at the paper, and I looked back at them. I said, we're here for my son's IEP meeting. You came here to do a commercial for your new program. Is that correct? The director she turned beet red. She was like, well, we wanted to give you information. I said, you already gave me information. I got it in the mail months ago. Oh, I read my mail too. I didn't respond because I'm not interested. And then I proceeded to tell her that it was rude for her to come into my son's IEP meeting unannounced and waste the time of the people in this room as well as mine. IEP meetings are like, sacred ground. You can call me and schedule a visit like everybody else. You don't get to bust into my son's IEP meeting. And I said, my son's IEP information isn't your business anyway. The principal jumped up and said, well, I can leave. I said, okay, have a nice day. What are you doing here anyway? You weren't invited. The district director was like, oh, I apologize. I said, okay. I said, but we're 10 minutes in and we only have so much time to do the IEP meeting. I think it was rude for you to come here unannounced. Like, isn't it? This is how you advocate for your child. Understand that it's up to you. You're the parent. You're the decision maker. I want you to understand this. This is how you navigate the system. You don't need the system to navigate the system. You don't need their permission. You're the parent. You're in charge, not the system. You use the system for your child's benefit, not the other way around. That's what I want you to understand. Got it? I want you to continue to watch my videos because I'm going to keep teaching you stuff like this. All right? Got me all hot and bothered. HIPAA, y'all. Read everything. Advocate for your child correctly. Know that you're in charge and it's up to you. Don't depend on them. Your child depends too much on you. Like this video for me. Subscribe on YouTube. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.